What's going on, everybody? It's Patrick Dang with the Parallax, and today I have for you a special guest of one of the hottest anime projects right now. They recently just minted, so hot off the press. We have Cyris from Isekai Meta. How you doing, Cyris?
Hey man, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries, and thank you for coming on. Personally, for me, I've been following you guys since you guys started putting out teasers and stuff, and obviously you minted, and we'll talk all about that kind of stuff. But the first thing I want to first go over is like, a lot of people here, they might be new to your project and they might be like, oh, what's Isekai Meta? So if you were to just quickly explain what your project is all about, what would it sound like?
Sure, I can start by giving a quick context about Isekai. First and foremost, we're not trying to be any project that tries to do a lot of things. First and foremost, Isekai Meta is a modern day IP brand. And what we're trying to do is to really tap into the foundational human need to connect with others through story, with experiences and such. And a lot of people already know this, but we intend to spark a new age of storytelling through Web3 and NFTs. Yeah, and to be clear, we're always and always will be an art-focused project, and we intend to stay this way.
Okay, so we're going to have some graphics and things that people kind of understand what Isekai Meta is, but for your perspective, actually, I'm curious to know for you, Cyris, were you always into anime, or were you always working in anime, or is this something fresh for you as you entered the NFT space?
I'm basically a weeb.
Okay.
Yeah, generally anime is seen as a weebish form of media, in most places around the world.
Yeah.
But not Asia, of course. And in my home country, it was, normal to like anime. It was everywhere.
Okay. And where are you from? Yeah. For the people that may not know?
Oh, I'm from the Philippines.
In Philippines, is anime huge? Everybody watches anime, or?
Oh yeah, I don't even know a single soul in here who doesn't know anime, to be honest.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so you've always been into it. Okay, yeah. So were you working in anime in some capacity before, or is it this is a new thing for you?
Just really a huge fan of it. The fascination of not only liking a lot of characters, growing up with certain animes and getting their values and such, and at the same time having a lot of friends that like it as well, mostly artists who actually draw animes and such, who animate stuff. It's cool. And even the storytelling aspect to it, because I like world building. When I like certain anime that has a very vast story behind it, you can't get enough of it, those kind of things.
Got you. Actually, I'm curious. When did you get into crypto and NFTs?
Yeah, so it kind of started how did I get into NFTs? I think the very first time, this might be long, but the very first time NFTs caught my attention was around June 2021. A new P2E, or play to earn game called Axie Infinity was getting popular in the Philippines, and Tito, a good friend of mine, who is actually also the community manager or community affairs director right now in Isekai, introduced it to me. We were not even aware of the term NFTs yet. I was already familiar with crypto in general because I was fascinated by it and have invested a little bit, but never traded or anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we didn't even know Axie was an NFT. Being curious gamers. Oh,
just a game. Yeah.
Yeah, being curious gamers we quickly jumped in and got hooked. That was kind of the gateway drug to me for NFTs, right? So I started to learn a little bit more. And around August, I found out about a project from my research, because I found it out, from GaryVee and stuff, and his videos. Big fan of him even before NFTs as well.
Yeah, same.
Quickly got hooked because I like the art. You have tokens and now you add art to it. That's a game changer for me. And this particular project was SPC, Space Punks Club. Yeah, I like the art because it was astronauts. I think I saw the public mint was going to be around August 16, and quickly told my friends, Tito, Nova, and Oni about it, but they did not even care, which was unsurprising, of course.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that generative, PFP art in general were not a thing in the Philippines that time, and my friends were not ready to spend some money to something they have no idea about. But I was, everything that I earned from Axie Infinity, I used it to reinvest into NFTs. So that was my very first ape in moment, so to say. Literally ape in, because I had no idea what I was buying in the first place. No idea about the market in NFTs. I don't even know OpenSea, nothing. It was just money that I could afford to lose. So I searched how to buy an NFTs, created a MetaMask wallet, This was when me and Wops, who's currently the co-founder of Isekai, we connected again, told him about it because he was big into coins. He's a trader, and he told me he's also interested with NFTs. So I told him, I want to learn more about this space. If we're going to do something worthwhile in here, I want to make sure I do it right. So I studied first, and I actually became a mod, but not intentionally at first, so to know more about it. I still remember the feeling of my very first mint and reveal experience, and it's surreal. And then I bragged it to the boys, which again, of course, they did not care. They did not care the fact that I just bought a JPEG of an astronaut.
Sure.
Yeah, and then that's where it all started. I got quickly immersed in what NFT communities are like. I think there's this, this phase that I think everyone in the NFT space got into, when they first got their NFT, and the very first solid community that you get to take part of. This phase of euphoria, with first projects, like I was so into it, engaging left and right, to the point where I was so active in the server that one of the mods reached out to me asking if I was interested in becoming a mod, and they said they needed someone from Asia time zone, so they thought it was fit for the role. Yeah.
I see.
And of course I said yes, and then they will add me to the prospect list and get back to me. So it was not even sure yet. Funny, because right after that I was introduced, this time around shilling was still a thing. I was introduced to the art of shilling this time when
everybody buy this thing.
Yeah.
Let's jump in. It's going up. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Sometime in the space, it actually worked because GaryVee noticed a tweet of mine shilling a project. If I remember correctly, I mentioned somewhere along the lines of, Gary, our community is awesome. You should go have a look. And he replied, he said, thanks, I will check it out. And then suddenly, Gary popped in the general chat to say hi and, bought an NFT of the project I was shilling for. And the rest is history. And I replied to his response saying, thank you for noticing. I'm a big fan of yours since Wine Library. And then he liked it and followed me. So that was crazy for me.
No, that's cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So wait, actually, I'm just curious. Like before you got into like NFTs and Axie Infinity, like what were you doing for like your normal like work and stuff before that?
I was an architect.
Oh, an architect.
Yeah.
Like designing like buildings and stuff like that.
Yes, I'm a junior architect, and I was currently working in an office before I quit to go full time on this because I was just that fascinated. Architecture actually is my passion my whole life. I never expected something as crazy as, Web3 and NFTs to take my mind off of it.
I see. Do you see any similarities to like the fundamentals of architecture or designing to NFTs? For me, myself, before I got into NFTs, I was doing B2B sales training. So teaching people how to communicate, how to sell like on the phone or in person, right? Because I used to do like enterprise sales. So when I got into NFTs, the same fundamental strategies of like understanding what human wants, solving pains, those kind of things directly translate into like selling NFTs, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like an easy skill set transfer. So I was curious to know from an architectural standpoint, I'm sure there's like some kind of overlap, right?
Yeah, I could say maybe, it has equipped me with skills such as meticulous planning, and I've taken a lot of learning from, being in charge of design and project planning, and also being responsible for the visual appearance of buildings and structures while also thinking about the function of it. So, it's supposed to balance the aesthetic and the practical needs of the output. And design of a problem, and practicality as well. Forming a team as well, and working and coordinating with engineers and such.
Okay, we'll definitely get into like how that applies to like actually building isekai, but yeah, that definitely is good to know. So going back to your story, you were like doing modding stuff, and then was it just like one day you were like, you know what, like I think I can do my own project? Was there just like a moment where you felt that, or were you always planning to do that sometime?
Yeah, because the thing is, the project eventually, project making in the space was eventually a plan. It was always a plan that I already had in the back of my head. The very moment I persuaded my friends to onboard the space with me, because how it started was Tito, Oni, and Nova, my childhood friends. We've been through our separate ways, but we kept in touch ever since. And then when we reunited with WOPS, it kind of started there. I asked them to mod with me, and then we decided to live together in one place as a team, full time, driving our way through the NFT space day by day. And, they didn't know that that was my plan as well. I used to tell them in our Discord call sessions from time to time, wouldn't it be cool if we launch our own project someday? As a joke, this was in 2021. And, it got more and more clear to them when me and Wops again talked. I think it was in December, to actually start something. And we started to master plan everything even more so when we met Shab and he started to sketch the early stages of the NFT design.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it was always a plan and you've been working on it since December. Now, at that time, did you know what you wanted to do, or was Isekai Meta the concept already, or is it you're kind of figuring it out as you go?
Oh, Isekai Meta is actually the third iteration of the project planning that we have been doing. We had a lot of ideas. We pitched in a lot of cool stuff. But it really is the thing that we all like is anime, and we just decided, okay, this is what we're going to do.
Oh, okay, so it's the third iteration. So you tried different ideas to see what's cool, what's not, and then that was the one that you guys stuck to. Is that how it went down?
Yeah, I think it was because as I was modding in different projects, I quickly realized how fast the space moves and how people get into this space suddenly. They just realize it, and as an anime fan, it reminded me of the concept of being isekai, right? So it's a different world. One day you're just living normally, and then the other, suddenly you're in this space. You're always in Discord and Twitter. You don't even know how you started the very exact moment. You're just here already. And so that's when I thought, okay, maybe this would be a good concept around a project that would also encapsulate what we want to do as well as the art in general.
Got you. Okay, so it's being transported to another world. No, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I can relate to that, right? Because when I started doing NFTs, it's you begin a new life. You're a new person, right?
With a new identity too.
Straight up, you can be anyone who you want to be, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so I definitely resonate with that. Now, when you guys were kind of conceptualizing Isekai Meta, was it art first, where you're okay, this is what it's going to look like and we'll build a narrative around that? Or, can you walk me through that process?
The actual concept of Isekai, even before that, I was already thinking of every project is so fast, right? That is when I was already thinking about, actually having an ethos and, telling that to the people. And the only way to do that is to actually start a community and find like-minded people who resonate with that idea. When it started, aside from the lack of specific art style variation, we wanted to build a project that actually encourages slowing down, and taking its time. And in the Web2, we rarely see projects get launched, just from weeks of work. Yeah. I understand it's different here on the Web3, but it's universally agreed upon that good things take time. Yeah. And we want to reflect that not only in the art, but also how we operate in things, even up to the community building.
Okay, so the whole, that beginning ethos was everybody's moving fast. Everybody wants the next thing now. You basically said, let's take the opposite approach in a way where you're okay, let's take it slow, because why not just get the right people instead of hyping it up or whatever? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, because the expression, the space moves very fast. We intend to create a place where you can slow down. It's not random. We really aim to use that expression as our core value. In a way, the isekai characters and the concept of isekai represents us. The narrative behind it enables us to experience this world at the same pace as your NFT. So we wanted to create a collection that would remind people to slow down and appreciate the moment. Yeah. Welcome to the world of Web3. This is how fast it is, but it doesn't have to be.
I see. That's a good point, because when I went on your website for the first time, right, when you launched it, and there's the music playing, right? Now that I think about it, the music does create that feeling of slowing down. It's you're just chilling by the lake, listening to the wind breeze or whatever, and it's this nice piano. So I definitely can see how that ethos can directly translate into something tangible that people can feel, right? An experience essentially.
Yeah. And the term chill is, we really wanted for it not to be only expressed through the art style, which of course, but all throughout the project as well, and from the general theme up to the community, the Twitter and the Discord. As community is an integral part of the project. We started by creating and curating a Discord community similar to the vibe and the structure of the Lo-Fi Girl official Discord. If you're familiar with
I know Lo-Fi Girl. I haven't been in the Discord.
Yeah. Yeah, they have this Discord server, they have this community where it's not all about, no one knows about NFTs there, no one knows, they're there to chill. And we wanted to create a server like that. So, the intention was to develop Isekai Meta,
Yeah.
to start with the community first before building the project. So that's why it took a long time. A lot of people were asking why it took a long time. We wanted the Discord to be one of the people's main servers to drop by, to chill, to relax, to hang out with other people that want to do the same. So we wanted to carefully design the theme up to the point where people just wanted to stay on the server just to study and work.
Yeah, just to hang out, right?
Yeah.
That's something I always think about. Like at the end of the day, for a lot of NFTs and community building, people, in my opinion, just want a place to belong, right? And everyone can have their own like interests, whether it's anime or like heavy metal rock or whatever, or rap music, right? But at the end of the day, we're all human beings, right? Like at our core. Yeah, and I think people forget that because a lot of times a lot of people focus on the flip or the money or like 10x or whatever, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where the the fast pace comes from. But there are actually people in this space who are here because of the connection and making networks and actually appreciating art, and really fascinated by the innovation and the possibilities of this platform.
No, that does make sense. Okay, so with that ethos, I can understand like kind of where the design aesthetic came from, because it kind of represents that vibe. One of the things that caught my attention, especially early days when you guys were doing the marketing, was that, maybe not early days, but like you guys partnered up with anime studio, and it was called, it was quite a popular one. I did look it up.
Studio 9 Lives, yeah.
Studio 9 Lives, yeah. And I looked at the resume that they have, and it's quite impressive. They have a lot of big like animes I've watched before. So can you kind of walk me through like how a collaboration like that even comes about, and like what were you thinking to make that strategic decision?
Yeah, so right from the get-go, we wanted to start a project that eventually be an animation, whether that's a series or a film, because like in general, a lot of people already know what anime is in the Web 2, but how does that work in the Web 3? So that statement alone holds a lot of opportunities and possibilities. That itself already has a lot of promise to give. And with Isekai Meta, we planned it to be an animated series based on the concept and the lore of the project. So an art-driven project that's focusing on connecting fans of independent animation with a community treasury that, maybe for one method is to get to vote and act as a producer in every part of the show's creative process, by owning one of the 7,777 uniquely generated isekais. You are, also participating in the full production of an animated series and a brand, an IP and we're excited for people to join us.
Got you. And was it like, were you like friends with people at Studio 9 Lives, and that's how it happened, or how does that connection happen?
By bringing beautiful art to life, we wanted to establish a studio sekai, but we cannot just create a studio right from the get-go. We needed some guidance, we needed some help as well. And Brian Barredo, who is the CEO of Studio 9 Lives, is actually a good friend of me and WAPS. And we reached out to a lot of studios already, and believe it or not, a lot of animation studios are actually very interested with jumping into the, they call it metaverse, they call it the Web3. However they understand it, they're very interested in jumping in. And we're very lucky because Studio 9 Lives is one of them. Even though a lot has reached back to us, this connection of us to Studio 9 Lives is different because we're already friends with them. And not only partnering with them as a full service animation, they're also guiding us, and we're also utilizing the connections that they have, from here in Japan. Studio 9 Lives is actually a Filipino led studio as well. That's why we chose them.
Got you. Oh, so they're based in the Philippines as well?
Yes, they're based in the Philippines as well.
Got you. Okay, that does make sense. One thing I'm personally curious about, because I don't know a whole lot about how the anime industry works, and maybe you can help me like, get educated. Are animes like, is that a profitable industry to be in, just like in general? Like, is it hard to do an anime? Like, I would imagine, because there's a lot coming out and stuff, it's difficult, but yeah.
Even getting into the production, pre-production alone, and a lot of people from the animation industry knows this, at least 6 months is what you need to even start something worthwhile. And with animation, really, it's a brand that you're building. It's an IP essentially. And for you to be able to get something worthwhile out from that is to expand that, to get exposure from it. And with Web3, you're here, you're building that. How does that connect? How does that work? And that's with community, because Web3 is all about community.
From my understanding, it's pretty difficult. It takes a long time to do things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So even if somebody has like an anime out, right? Like it's on like Crunchyroll or something. Is it like profitable? Like, is that a good business to be in terms of money wise? Or is like an anime almost a form of advertising to sell merchandise? Like originally, like, when I looked at Pokemon, the only reason why they did an anime was to promote the game and then the trading cards and stuff, right? So they had a direct revenue stream. I'm just curious to see like how you think of an anime and how it like works in this whole like Web3 NFT anime space.
There are a lot. I mean, revenue sharing is just one of those, but that one is pretty complex, so to say, because while we are still solidifying our legal team, that's exactly one of the things that we want to happen, and there's a long way to go. But another thing is, the thing with Web3 is when people think of utility, they always think of the financial side to it. But when people ask for utility, what they're usually really asking is, what value can this NFT provide? Utility is just one of those. And because here's the thing, people don't want your NFTs. They want what it will do for them. They want the way it will make them feel. There aren't that many feelings to choose from. So in essence, most builders deliver the same feelings. We just do it in different ways. And with us, we want to make sure that it's the mystical way of having tangible art and animation and being a part of that, the desired emotion and experience that we want to provide. So with that, I guess we could do something worthwhile, because the thing is, people are usually selling is simply a road to achieve those emotions, but we let everyone down because we focus on tactics, and that's why we're focusing on the outcomes as well. And for Isekai Meta, we have the Sekai map, which isn't an obvious roadmap. So it's not a strict step-by-step series of plans of action. What we really offer to people is a compass, a true north, a recursive path that will get better as Isekai Meta grows. Because right from the get-go, people would ask, what is the long-term plan of Isekai Meta? Then I could already tell them, this is a brand, is an IP, and it's something already tangible by telling you that we're planning an animation series. That is the long-term plan. So the name of the game now is, how do you serve the short-term and mid-term for the holders as well, right? So this is where the, providing a sustainable ecosystem on top of an anime in the Web3 comes in, and that's where storytelling comes in.
Got you. Okay, well, when I asked that question, I was more like into the idea of like in general first, right? Before we get into like all the details of stuff, like when a studio, whether it's Web3, Web2, when they create an anime, right? Like, I'm just wondering, like, is it like a good business to be in general, right? Like, if I wanted to start an anime studio, like, because like I know I have a friend who works in like the manga industry, right? Yeah. And from what he tells me, he's like, yeah, dude, if you make a manga, the profit margin is like razor thin, and it's like hard to make it as a manga studio, right? I'm just curious, like for anime, is it like, if your show is on like Crunchyroll or something, does that make a lot of money? Or like, I just want to know, like in general,
So yeah, that's the thing. With Web2, it is, and there's a lot of marketing into it. And with Web3, how do you do it with the community? And that itself holds a lot of the profits in there, because I think I've been telling a lot of people that we appear to be in the beginning of a new era of brand storytelling. Not everyone realizes this, and what we're trying to do is that paired with a studio, because trying to attract a larger audience for both creators and fans in this space, and that is just one of the ways to make sure that it's a profitable business in here in the Web3.
When you are building an anime, series and IP in Web3, the benefit of that is that you have a core community that will support you.
Yeah. So basically, the benefits you get from building an anime in Web2, but if you've done it right in Web3, the community is part of it. Okay. I would say the benefits of the benefits you get from Web2 plus the community, in this case.
Okay, I got you. Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, some of the people on my Twitter and stuff, I asked them like, hey, I'm interviewing Isekai Meta, like what questions you have? And it seems like we were just talking about this a second ago, but it seems like when it comes to NFTs, right? And not just Isekai Meta, but any NFT in general, there's always this like two-sided problem of like, you want to build something substantial and long-term, but it takes a while to build. So it's not like it's going to happen tomorrow, right? So like an anime is a perfect example. It's like not easy.
Right?
And then the other end is like people who bought and they're like, what do I get? Like, when's this going to come out? And they, they're always asking when, especially they're watching floor price all the time, which, is good and bad to that. One question that someone in particular had is, what would be the core benefit of holding, let's say, an Isekai Meta, for example, for the long term, right? Because like when I look at NFT projects, I think like, okay, I can hold it for a long time, or I can just buy it right before there's some news that's going to happen. You know what I mean? And then I think for every project, even including for myself, right? It's like, what can we do extra to make it worth their time, make it create experience maybe? And I think you're kind of leaning on helping, like having them contribute to the anime or production in itself.
Yeah.
So I'll let you speak on that.
Yeah, so the objective is to create multiple IPs for people to enjoy for the years to come, and of course sustainably. And the first step, of course, is to shake the current standards with art and community building. And this alone can take up a year if it needs be. That's why minimum viable product is key. People ask, what change are you trying to make? Because a lot of people try to see it as, when I get this, okay, what do I get from it now? And people fail to see the long term of the project. And like I always say, art NFT started becoming more popular, and it's attracting a larger audience of both creators and fans. Of course, traders, which is the majority of the space. But what we're trying to really target in this space are the creators and of course, the specific niche of anime fans, right? And in my lens, what I see is how Web3 enables community storytelling to NFTs. So what do I mean by that? It's, the possibility of the collaborative creativity across all media formats. And that's animation is just one of them. It is widely known that with the rise of Web2, collaborative narratives such as fan fiction, YouTube films, became highly popular, for example. And what was lacking, however, was a more efficient way of sharing collaborative efforts for recognition and even economic profit. And Web3 has the potential to change that.
Yeah, I totally get that. My question is, so let's say somebody buys an Isekai Meta, right? And then, so you want them to obviously be a part of it, feel like they're welcome, be part of the community, and somehow benefit from holding this, right? So like, what are the things that they can like tangibly potentially do in the future? Would it be like there's an arc in a story where this person can either, do this thing or that thing, and then the people vote, or like what are you thinking?
Yeah, so while NFT projects are coming to fruition, the real thing that we are trying to focus here is utilizing the trackable NFTs to enable people and fans to collaborate in various forms. So for instance, Isekai Meta features a 7K collection hand-drawn NFTs to allow the holders to shape the stories of, let's say, the future manga and the animation narratives, like you said. This allows the community to collaborate with us and with each other in new ways. So that could be, having a branch NFTs by the communities with the help of us, for example, right? And each NFT will then be integrated into future lore through mangas and animations over time. And also, there are some people who loves to write. Then we get copywriters for that. We make stories. A lot of people are, visual. So yeah, we really try to cater to different kinds of people.
Okay, so it depends how they want to contribute. So would it be like you would like hire within your community? Is that the case, or is it like something different?
Could be, without sharing too much, because this is something that we're trying to explore right now and trying to add we haven't really promised any utility, the very tangible utility yet, because this is what we're trying to build on top of that, to make sure to allow the holders to badge up different worlds with their classifications. And for example, maybe for a good context, even $1 billion comic book companies, like for example DC Comics, they have taken interest in NFTs for storytelling as well. Josh Hackberg, the head of NFT commercial development for Warner Brothers, he said that while some comic books in the early 1990s allowed fans to dial a 1-800 number to vote on how comic books may end, Web3 finally allows users to be an integral part of the storytelling process. This is no longer about conducting an anonymous vote or dialing a 1-800 number. NFTs allow fans to become authenticated, verified participants in this entire process. Yeah, the name of the game is to really allow the community to kind of create their own narratives, and that is what we're trying to explore right now, and can't wait to show more.
That's an interesting point, right? Like if you integrate like somebody's NFT in the anime series, right? it would be kind of cool to be like, oh yeah, that one's mine, right? But one thing I'm curious about is like there's a lot, and there's like 7,7777 NFTs. I guess like in an anime series, you could realistically only implement like a few, right? Unless you just like put them as like background characters or like they're like what are your thoughts on that? Like is it like you can only pick a few and that's what it is because you can't have too many characters?
So there's going to be like a system to it. These characters will be featured in a set of forthcoming manga, animated series, even merchandise drops, and it could be all driven by the community. One thing that some projects do is they have this brand. What most projects do is they create a merch out of it. But what if you let the community create their merch out of that and actually give them the IP rights to that, which is actually why we're really setting up the IP rights, commercial rights properly, because this is actually setting the floor of our main goals and plans for Isekai Meta for this to work.
Got you. Oh, and so you're still in the process of like setting that up.
Yeah, because we are solidifying our legal team for this, making sure that this is a very tedious process. We want to make sure that we get everything right.
Because I also thought about that as well for my NFT, and it's like who owns the rights, who licenses it, how does that work? And it's like you need like a lawyer to like actually look at that, right? You can't just like randomly do it. Understandable. So I guess people can follow up to see like how the IP rights work. But in general, from a high level perspective, are you pretty much like trying to allow your holders to like own their IP and like use it and maybe make money in the future, possibly?
There's going to be a specific way of how that's going to be handled, of course, but that is the idea, the general idea of what we want to do.
Got you. Okay, that does make sense. Thinking more from a longer term perspective of like high level vision of Isekai Meta, one thing that people will think about if they're thinking about buying or holding or whatever is that they want to see their NFT go up in value, right? And I know like NFTs aren't always about like investing. Sometimes it's more about buying into a community and being part of something. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who care about the value of the asset, right? And so I'm just curious from your perspective, like, do you think that by creating IP and just like creating shows and getting your brand more popular, that's what's going to drive demand into people wanting to collect in Isekai Meta? Or, how are you thinking about like that from a collectible perspective?
That's a good question. I would say because, what we're trying to do is a very specific thing in this space, and we're not trying to promise a lot of things because, when we try to make everyone happy, you're also not making anyone happy at the same time.
Sure.
Yeah, because, we are not an NFT project. That's what I tell the team. We are a startup project in the Web3 space, and that's what we are. And Isekai Meta Genesis collection is only but the first step. As a startup in the Web3 space, still a startup should be treated as such. So the foundations remain the same. That's why, you cannot walk into any type of pitch without a business plan, a marketing plan, and even a funds forecast, because this is what I tell to other people as well. But you can't do that anywhere else. Why do you think you can do that here? So, we see NFTs as well as Isekai as shares, and the project is the brand, a decentralized one. And at the end of the day, any type of investment, whether it be asset classes, shares, equity, or NFTs, there still must be a benefit for investors. And I guess really the tricky part here is making sure you make the investors and the traders happy. And that's the tricky part here in the Web3 space, because there are a lot of traders, right?
I would say majority of traders, actually. Yeah. It's a hard balance, right? So I guess going back to the question of like, let's just think long term, right? Like forget about the traders. Let's just talk about people who believe in you. They believe in the vision. They want to see Isekai Meta succeed 5-10 years, from here. Like from your perspective, like what's a win? Like what would create value for your project, get people interested? Would it be, having a whole Netflix anime series? Would it be like a video game? Like how are you thinking about these things?
Yeah, so there are many ways to go about this, because, and many different ways that people are exploring it right now. And, ways that people look into the future, whether it be securitizing a token, a utility token, or a governance token, a whole lot of aspects, a whole lot of ways. And with us, we're really trying to make sure that we are an NFT project that really focuses on the anime side, animation. While, people could say, oh, it's going to take a long time. It's really going to be a form of over-promising when we say that we're also trying to, put a lot of utility behind that, because we want to double down on the animation side of it, right? Because,
Yeah.
you know, in essence, you know, most builders deliver the feelings. And if you can bring someone belongingness, connection, and peace of mind, status, or any of the other most desired emotions, then I would say, you know, that is something that is worthwhile. And what we hope for is for the community to get the idea that what we're trying to do with the value we put on the table, and really
Yeah.
what we want to focus on is the creative side of this industry.
Okay, so it's more creating like good animation, essentially.
Yeah.
From the perspective of just like a regular trader or buyer, investor, speculator, however you want to call it, the thing I would be thinking about is like, you know, an NFT, to me at least, is not necessarily a share from my perspective. It's more of a collectible. Just like, you know, we all like Pokemon, for example, right? But when you buy a Charizard Pokemon card for $100,000, you don't own a percentage of Pokemon. You just own a card that people value, right? And that's how I see NFTs, because when you sell it, you raise a lot of money, but actually you don't need to give up any equity. So that's like one of the beauties of NFTs, but also like pros and cons, right? So it's like you have all this money to build something. And I think the challenge people have when it comes to thinking long term is that because they don't own a percentage of the company, so even if the company is valued really high, the NFT can be worth very little, right? So it's like, that's weird. You're using my money to build something and then you take all the profit, right? That's how I always think about for any project. You know, I'm not just speaking of your project, but like any person that sells an NFT, they're on the same boat, right? Including myself. So I think that's why there's always this conversation about like, what am I getting? That goes beyond the long-term goal. I mean, what are your thoughts? You know, and now we're just like having a conversation.
Yeah,
like,
I definitely agree, because it is a collectible, and you know that is, I guess, what you could say is the value that the traders could have, and what we're trying to, you know, while it's there, what we're trying to do is really put the value for the long-term holders as well. Because while utility is important, you know, usually when people hear the word utility, they think of P2E, staking, DAOs, and we're not going to be promising any of that. Like you said, collectibles, we believe, you know, first and foremost, art is the ultimate utility as well. You know, a well-curated community is also utility.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think you can agree as well that, you know, for a project, you don't want any fancy features to be the main driving force. And we genuinely think that there is a reason, you know, even non-utility NFTs set the world ablaze. You know, kicking the entire NFT movement. In a perfect world, and this is purely my opinion, you don't build or define utility. It happens as a matter of urgency, because the art is so powerful, the community is so good, it's so genuine. It's the lack of utility that I think allows for innovation in utility to happen afterwards. You know, leaning,
I see.
and you know, community and identity right now is one of the most important values, you know, and utilities that has ever existed, and that's what we're going to double down.
I see. So I guess that would be like almost kind of redefining what utility is depending on who your audience is, right? Because like I think there's a certain segment of the NFT market where they think utility is like whitelist giveaways and like tokens and staking, right? Which in my opinion, they're cool, but I feel like a lot of it is like short-term gimmicks where, you know, eventually it's like nobody cares about it after like 2 months, right? Which is the reality. But yeah, I agree with you where like I would say utilities for most communities that I personally like look at is really the people in it.
Yeah.
That, for me at least, right? Like for example, like people want to buy like these blue chip projects. A lot of times it's just to get in the door with other people who own the same thing to be part of a club, right? But I mean, if you're curating something like, you know, of your own version of that with Isekai Meta, then that's definitely one way to go, right?
Yeah.
Like these are people that like to take it slow, who have to think more, or however you want to spin it, right? Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the biggest project in the space, you know, BayC, what is the value that they have, you know, primarily when they started? You could say it's the community, and with that, you are right. You know, but then everyone runs on the fad of community aspect. You know, what is a community, and what is about a community that you have that is valuable, right? And people will say, well, I have built this community, I have 40K people, 100K people. Yeah, but you know, really the question that a lot of people, and I think you can agree, is what's so valuable about it? Because BayC has created an economic infrastructure that allows its valuable community to be self-developed, right? They have celebrities, influencers, and valuable connections. So, you know, in the animation standpoint with that, you know, with animes, how do you do that? So that's exactly what we're trying to do as well. And then with Isekai Meta, when we started, our server was not open. So we handpicked at max, I think 3,000. Oh, not 3,000, 1,500 people. You know, and the value and the quality of the server has kept intact. That's when we put in the decentralized community building, which is, adding the role of Genshijin. When we started, we wanted to give the core community the ability for them to grow the community further by their own, so they could invite people by their own, and it's not us. So a lot of people were, in the whitelist stage, even they were asking, why am I not included in the community and such? And, it's people would respond to you. It's because, the community decides and it's not the team. And I think that's something we were very proud of, putting into the space, because the proposed system, giving the members the ability to further grow and to curate the community, is like the first step of, when you say the value of the community. So when we say community, we had a good idea about community and we wanted to maintain that. So yeah.
No, I hear you. I mean, community building is actually, for any founder that knows this, it's actually pretty difficult, right? To create an environment where people want to hang out is not easy, because there's so many options, right? There's free ones, there's paid ones, there's so many different ones. So I understand that it's difficult to build a community, and I understand that like handpicking people to like get that core seed, is very important actually, right?
Yeah, and because it's an anime project, it's very specifically niched, right? It's not for everyone. So right from the start, we already knew our target market, and so it's just about us being meticulous about it and finding those individuals who resonate with our narrative, because it doesn't make any sense to make a key and then run around looking for a lock to open, right? And what happened in Isekai Meta is, first we well curated, the people that aligns with our narrative and expression, nurture them and then build a project around it, because the only productive solution is to find a lock and then you fashion the key. So it's easier and much more efficient to make a brand and NFT for the community that we seek to serve, than it is to find the right community for your project.
One thing I'm actually pretty curious about, speaking of your community, there are a lot of people that are kind of like somewhat like whales and stuff like that who have, purchased many like Isekai metas and stuff. And I'm just curious, like from your like experience, like was it just that, you had personal connections with them and they just really liked your project? Was it just that they saw and they were like, wow, this is really amazing?
Oh, I absolutely know nothing about the whales. Like I don't know any of them, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, we were just glad. I think they really resonated with us. They liked the art and the community as well. We really made sure to put everything right, because when they tried to research us right from the website and then check the Discord and check the art and even the community that we have firstly curated, I think the whales that bought into us were really the ones that saw the potential and really vibed with us.
Got you. But then you also did like an interview with Spirit DAO, right?
Oh yeah.
There's like an AMA and stuff like that, right? So there was like some kind of connection at least, right? Like they kind of know who you were and stuff like that.
Yeah, I would say some of those, because they were really interested. They even invited me, before that spaces into a private AMA to ask what we were about, if we were doxed, and our future plans.
Oh yeah, I was just curious on that point. But I mean, it's always good to have people supporting your project, right, on a good level. So that's definitely good. So as we go ahead and wrap up our interview, Cyris, is there anything, some final parting words that you would like to leave our Parallax audience over here about your project or anything in general?
Oh, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, just thank you for listening and vibing, and hopefully you like what we do and build with us. Because this is just a start, and the whole team, including me, we're really stoked to build Isekai with the community and for the years to come. And though a lot of things are in store, we want to make sure that people see us in a way where really not rushing and just trying to build something genuine in this space, and hopefully it could set a standard for other projects as well.
All right, sounds good. Thank you for the parting words, Cyris. With that said, everybody, that is going to be the end of the interview. So I appreciate you guys listening, and Cyris, I'll catch you later.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. See ya.